Welcome to our 20th episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. I'm Danny Ko.
And I'm Atta Tabesh. Thank you for joining us on episode number 19. We are back from a 3-week break, just like F1. First, let's give everyone a quick update on Shane Chinnen-Roden's condition. Shane is doing better with all things considered. He's been transferred from the ICU to a rehab facility at the Washington MedStar National Rehab Hospital. He can now speak and breathe on his own with just a little oxygen assistance. He can move his shoulders and his arms, but still needs time with his hands and finger recovery. He drove a wheelchair for the first time this past weekend, and he's doing a lot of rehab work every day. Shane is in good spirits and wants to thank everyone for their help and thoughts for him and his family. And this is really great news for all of us.
Yeah, this is great indeed. If you'd like to visit Shane, it's best to visit on the weekends. Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. would be ideal. The address is 102 Irving Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C. And thank you again, and your help is greatly appreciated as Shane is moving towards the rehab and recovery phase. Thanks, everyone. So, Addo, did you do anything during the break?
Oh, boy, did I.
What'd you do?
Okay. We'll talk about me for like 5 seconds, and then we got to talk about you. Okay.
All right.
So during the little break, I was doing lots of kids stuff, lots of field hockey, horses, dance class, everything. I did it all. I was a present father. I was in attendance. Right. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. I got my Ferrari gear. I purchased it. I'm getting ready to go to Austin. So I'm locked and loaded, baby. I had a good little break.
Nice.
Now, are you ready, Danny? Because I'm going to ask you what you did on break.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I didn't do much. I went to Africa.
So, as our resident African expert, I'm pretty sure.
Resident African expert.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my mom, historically, we have to have come from Africa.
We're all from Africa.
Well, yes, we all are from Africa. Danny, thank you. So this is going to be a great podcast. Let's talk about African animals. I want to ask you right off the bat, Danny.
Okay.
You were in Africa, even though I'm the African expert.
Yeah,
I think that
I've been African more than you have.
Yeah, but
3 times.
Okay, that's a lot of Africa. So let's talk about Africa for a second. I'm an expert on animals, right? Because I was a kid and I loved African animals. But I'm going to quiz you right now on air. This is live quiz.
Yes.
Danny, can you tell me which African animal is the most dangerous African animal?
The cutest. Well, the most African dangerous animal is human.
Okay. That don't count. Forget about the humans.
Actually, the most dangerous animal is human, period.
Well, yes.
The next one are the hippos. Hippos.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's hippo.
Yeah,
it's not lion. You would think it's lion or rhinoceros or elephant.
No, hippos.
It's those cute hippopotamuses.
Yeah.
Now,
hippos are nasty.
Can you tell us a story about you being almost attacked by a hippo?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it like almost attack, but it's like he's getting ready to attack.
Did he go towards you?
So we went on a bushwalk. So if you guys don't know what a bushwalk is you go in a group of, well, actually 10 now, right? In this particular case, we have 2 guides, both of them with, 375 rifles. Yeah, I know. And then it was pretty funny. The first bushwalk we took, we went there, and then they were a young German couple. I have no idea how old the woman is, probably like 19 years old. And then he thought that we're going on the bushwalk with a walking stick.
Oh my God. That's not a walking stick.
And then when she saw the gun, she was like totally offended. And she was like, "Why are you bringing guns? Are you going to shoot animals?"
If they attack you.
Well, so the guy basically politely said, "We only bring guns to make sure that you're safe." And then, I mean, obviously he said, well, so of course they said that the whole entire time that they're working at the place for years and years and years, nobody has ever fired a gun at an animal during the bushwalk. Yeah. So, but you'd never know, right? You just don't know. So they bring it for protection. So she was asking, why don't you bring a tranquilizer gun? And he says, if I bring a tranquilizer gun, and if I shot an animal with a tranquilizer gun, by the time he goes to sleep, we'd be all dead by then. which makes total sense.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So we went on a bushwalk, and then we were walking for about an hour towards a water hole. And then we got to the water hole. And when we got there, there was a hippo at the end of the water hole, which is, I mean, not kidding, at least 300 yards away, right? 400 yards away. It's like at the end, it's pretty far. And then we kept on talking. A couple minutes later, this hippo swim to the middle of the water hole, which is the middle of the lake. And then after a couple minutes, now this hippo is around a quarter or less of a distance from the shore of the lake.
He's
right?
coming.
Which is about 150 yards away. And then these two grown guys with guns and saying, okay, let's go.
It's time to go.
It's time to go. And then as we filed out and leave the water hole, and they kept on looking to the back and make sure the hippo doesn't come at us.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it turns out that the hippos are the most aggressive animals in those areas. And then because back in the day, or even today, especially during drought season, people need water. So animals goes to water holes or lakes, and then people go to water holes and lakes. Yeah. And sometimes if people weren't careful, while they were getting water and hippos are walking towards the water or getting out of water, they see anybody else who's not them, they go after them. So yeah. So hippos are the most dangerous.
I think you might need to be our Africa expert now, Danny. After that experience.
Yeah, I can take you on a bushwalk.
You could take me on a bushwalk.
Yeah, if you ever want to know, what kind of animal and what kind of poop that comes out of an animal and what you can eat, what kind of poop you can eat, you can ask me.
That's not a question anyone would ever ask you. What kind of poop can you eat?
Yeah. Just let me know. I already know.
Is there a backstory on why you're talking about eating poop right now?
Our bushwalk guides are showing us which poop you can eat and which poops you can't eat. And then if a poop that looks like this and a poop look like that, how do you tell which animal is it from? It was really funny.
You would know because I know you're a local animal expert as well.
Yeah. So believe it or not, over there are a bunch of impalas, which is deers that has nice looking horns that can run real fast. And they're pretty cute, just like the deers here.
And that's what the Chevy Impala was named after.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're bringing it back to cars.
Right. Impalas are like, they can run 35, 40 miles an hour. They're really fast.
Like a car,
and the reason that there's so many of them is because they're so fast that none of the animals can catch them other than leopards.
Nice.
Yeah, but for every leopard we saw, in his mouth there was an impala.
Oh no!
It was pretty wild. So we happened to walk right next to during our bushwalk. We walked to a pile that's 6 foot wide of impala poop. So our bushwalk guy asked us. He says, "Do you know what that's from?" I said, "Well, yeah, I know. These are from impalas because they look like deer poop, which is." We have a bunch of those in our.
We have a lot of deer
back in the trail near my house. They say, "Yeah, you're right." But then he goes, do you know how to tell male impala poops from female impala poops?
Nope.
We go, well, no. He says, male impala poops taste bitter and the female doesn't. And then he picks up one and put it in the mouth and goes, "This one is from the male." We're like, "Oh my God, you're the man."
Daddy, did you try some?
Huh?
Did you try?
No, then he offered me. I go, no, maybe next time. then he walks up, like another, about 10, 15 yards. And then there was this big, elephant poop. Then he tells us that elephant can only absorb 40% of what they eat. So 60% is not processed. So then he breaks open the elephant poop. Nope. And sure enough, there were like grass and berries like in there, right? So he says, if you get hungry and stuff and you get stuck in the bush without anything to eat, you can eat those berries. Or you can take a fresher one and squeeze it and get the juice and you can drink those. They're especially good if you have a stomach upset. So this makes me an expert. And then my wife has correctly identified a poop from a giraffe.
What's it like? Big deer poop?
No, exactly. It's like a big deer poop. So when they ask me, when they're asking me, what poop is this from? I say, is that from a kudu? Because kudu is that's bigger deer. Yeah, that's a bigger deer. He says, no, that's from a giraffe. And then he turns around and said to Jody and says, how do you know it's from a giraffe? He says, that's because when the poop lands, one part is flat and the other part's round.
Oh my God, it's fallen from so high. Oh, okay. All right,
I don't know how we
that was
this place.
I don't know, but we should probably talk about BMW and other. We should autocross stuff.
All right. Anyway, my African trip was great, but now I'm a poop expert.
Oh my God, you really are our resident African expert now.
That's right. If you have any questions, just go ahead and ask.
And since we're all from Africa,
yeah,
that makes you an African.
That's right.
And you're an American.
By the way, I would say everybody I meet in Africa are more than nice. They're the nicest people. I'm serious. I really had a great time.
You're an African American now.
That's right. I am an African American now. I'm proud to be an African. I really am. I love it.
And I'm Tafosi from next year on.
Yeah. No, I don't know about that. All right, cool. All right, let's continue.
Oh my God. Okay. All right, let's continue.
All right. So this Saturday is the NCC BMW event number 5 at the Washington Circuit at Summit Point. Once again, BMW Club will run the morning-afternoon format, so plenty of runs to be had. Look for Marcus Pine and Greg Pollock battle for the top spot with Jen Fox, Steve Mitchell, Chris Moody, Howard Lankin, Rafael Garces, and John Renkovich challenging the top times.
Next Saturday, we have 3 events on the calendar. Both PCA Potomac and BMC will be running their final events of the year. PCA Potomac will be on the Washington Circuit at Summit Point, and BMC will be running at Ripken Stadium in Aberdeen. Lots of DMV and Philly area autocrossers will attend the BMC event, and it's promised to be a competitive race. PCA Potomac will once again provide excellent breakfast and lunch choices. You can do no wrong with either one, and the registrations are still open for both. Next Sunday is the final WDCR event of the year at Waldorf. If the previous WDCR event is any indication, it is promised to be another great event. Let's see if Marcus Pine, Alan Claffey, and Dustin Grubbs can remain undefeated in their respective classes for the season. Register soon to see if this event can break the single season race attendance record of 140.
Yep. All right. So after a 3-week break, many autocrossers told me last Sunday that they have no idea how to function every weekend because they're missing all the all-important weather forecasts from this podcast. But no need to fear. The weather forecast is coming up, and please put our hands together and welcome Addis gynecologist Alan Claffey.
No, why? No. He's a meteorologist, but why is he my gynecologist?
Alan will keep you healthy, Ada.
Just cut.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Ada. It's good to see you guys back. It's been a week. I've spent the whole time in my backyard waiting for you guys to call. Out in the rain, the cold, dark, daylight, night, daylight, night. You guys never called. But you're back now, so that's good. Things have been pretty good here at Parsimonious Racing HQ. It is currently raining in Waldorf as I record this, so we're hiding in the garage with... Oh, NC gets the garage for now. Okay, well, that's good. Anyway, weather has been pretty good, I would say. We had our WDCR. People were saying, where's the forecast? Because we didn't have a show last time. Before that one, I accurately predicted the first seat would be dry because I was in it, and it was dry. And on the plus side, the rest of the day was pretty dry too. Let's think about down the road here as I take a seat on this fine automobile. Let me put on my glasses because I can't read. And let's think about the weather for the next couple of weeks. Oh, these glasses do not make me look good at all. Well, that's too bad. Saturday, October 5th, BMW CCA is running at the Washington Circuit at Summit Point Motorsports Park. I have a really nice forecast for you. Sunny, 76. Here's the other thing, though. It's that time of year where the mornings are going to be cold. This is a low temperature of 47, and out in West Virginia, it's probably not going to be much warmer than that before things get going. It is tire blanket season, guys, so stock up. If you don't have them, you can make them. And you're going to need them as we go on. Saturday, October 12th is the next day with anything on my schedule. We have Brandywine Motorsports Club running at Ripken Stadium. It says a touch of morning rain. I don't know what that means. I'm going to assume it's not going to be much. So, once we get that out of the way, a decent day. 72 degrees is your high in Aberdeen, Maryland. Also on October 12th, PCA Potomac will be running at the Washington Circuit at Summit Point. This says it's going to be sunny, 69 degrees with a low of a brisk 45. So, tire blankets are one thing. You're going to need hoodies too. It is hoodie season after all. We're going to look forward to the following... No, it's not. Yeah, it is the following Sunday, October 13th. WDCR is back in action in beautiful downtown Waldorf, Maryland, a mere stone's throw from Parsimonious Racing HQ. Oh, it's going to be beautiful, sunny, 72 and a low of 51. If it turns out to be a really nice day, I am taking all the credit for that as we wrap up our WDCR season. And a pretty good season it was. So I don't really have anything else to say. I can't spin around wildly in the confines of my small garage, so you're just going to have to add the effects yourself after the fact. On the plus side, I don't hear any lawnmowers. I don't hear any loud traffic going by. It's just me, a little rain outside, and the soothing sounds of the weather. On that happy note, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to send it back to Danny and Etta in the studio, and I will see you next time.
Thank you, Alan. We have 3 weeks of results to report, so let's get right into it. Saturday, September 14th, PCA Chesapeake number 6 was another snoozer when David Critchard dominated the event once again and took FTD. At some point, somebody will have to Tanya Harding him.
No.
Somebody else. So somebody else gets a chance to win.
No, let's not do that.
Dean Mohi gave it a good try, but his manual came in with less ideal gearing. Is always an uphill battle. The top 10 fastest times are top time David Critchard, followed by D. Mohi. Third was Howard Lankin. Matt Hoffman's fourth. Damon Lowney's fifth. Dan Reddick is sixth. Sean Considine is seventh. Mark Hubley eighth. Ken Wojak is ninth. And John Rankovich is 10th.
The following Saturday, September 21st, Mercedes-Benz Club held its number 7 event on Potomac Pad at Summit Point. Just like the PCA Chesapeake event, it was another snoozer with Marcus Pine taking the fastest time. We also recommend Tanya Harding, Marcus as well. So, can we explain this to the younger viewers? Like, I think this is a very old reference. David.
Tanya Harding?
Yes.
Oh, come on, man.
There's
Really?
no way any of the XB crowd, those young hip kids, the XA crowd, people
They don't know.
their whole lives ahead of them. There's no way they all know Tanya Harding.
Tanya Harding is like their mom's age.
She's like older than their moms. Like she's like my mom's age.
She's not that old. All right, so very quickly,
Yeah, sorry.
Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. So they were competitors in figure skating,
Figure skating.
and Nancy Kerrigan kept on beating Tanya Harding at most of the events. So Tanya Harding wants to represent U.S. in the Olympics. So during the Olympics, final or trials, she and her boyfriend or husband at the time hired his name is Jeff Glulier, I think, hire a hitman to break Tanya Harding's kneecap. I'm sorry, to break Nancy Kerrigan's kneecap so that Nancy cannot compete. So Tanya will be in the Olympics.
It was so bad.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to win something real bad that they couldn't,
Kneecaps.
yeah, then you do a Tanya Harding on them, and then that's how you stop them from winning.
But don't actually do that.
But I would say this though, David Critchard is bigger and stronger than most guys, so you might get Tanya Harding if you go after him like that.
Yeah, but it'd be very easy to like Tanya Harding Marcus though. That'd be very
That's
easy.
right.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Marcus, he
yeah.
was first place.
Again.
Should I go through the list?
All right. Yes. Go ahead.
Greg Poe, second. Third, Jen Foe. Fourth, Matt Hu. Fifth, Walter Liu. Sixth, Howard Lee.
Waterloo sounds like Waterloo.
It does sound like Waterloo.
Yeah.
Seventh, Ken Ba. Eighth, Dustin Gurr. Ninth, Steve Mee. 10th, Colin So.
Colin So sounds so Korean.
It sounds so Korean.
All right. Okay. So, Ada, you know that I write the script for the podcast and events.
Yes.
I literally just cut and paste the last event results into this event's results, and they're almost identical, right?
Love
So thank you to everyone that makes my job easier. But we need to drive faster and knock some of these guys off the podium. Otherwise, it'd be boring, right? Or we have to Tanya Harding everybody.
Everybody.
So I'm already in retirement, so it's too late for me. But you young guys have no excuse. You need to get to it. Get them off the podium.
Also, I want to take a moment and say thank you, Danny, for writing the scripts for the podcast, because without your writing the scripts for the podcast, we'd be talking for like hours and no information would be actually shared.
What do you mean? We just share a bunch of poop information.
Yeah, but we had to stop ourselves because we keep talking about poop for the next like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's kind of hard to differentiate, talking shit and talking poop,
Same thing. Nice. I like it.
All right, we'll continue.
Okay. This past Sunday's WDCR SCCA Autocross at Waldorf set a benchmark for the single race attendance for 2024. 150 registered and 140 attended. That is the largest attendance of the year. Bill Stockton built a fun course and rain held off, and it was a pleasant all day long. Some fierce battles within the classes, namely the battle between Pat Gaffney and Mark Canacarante in Super Street, which Pat took the win. Craig Marhefka put up a great last run together to take the win in A Street over Samir Thandi and Dean Mohit. And welcome, Samir, to the region.
Yeah, Samir's fast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Less than a tenth separated Matt Huffman and the new XTX national champion, Cody Hunt, and the champ prevailed. Elizabeth Sharp held the lead for the entire race until the very last run of the day, where Al Pacheco pulled out a fast run and just edged Elizabeth to take the STH win. It also took Marcus Pine until his last run to finally put together a clean one and to get ahead of Trevor Blackwell for the STR win. No such problem for my gynecologist, Alan Claffey, as he successfully Alan did good. He's unbeaten. Damn it, Danny. He knocked off Greg Jones and Howard Lycan. Okay. Fastest time went to creepy Mike Moran. Top packs is once again Marcus Pine. And the random drawing free lunch from Sheets went to Alan Tran. Awesome, Alan. Nice work. Just to make sure he spent the money on lunch and not gas. Your top 10 packs winners are Marcus Pine, Cody Hunt, Matt Huffman, Craig Marhefka, John Williman, Dustin Grubbs, Clyde Kaplan, Jack Chrissy, Trevor Blackwell, and Patrick Gaffney. The top 10 fastest times were Mike Moran, Marcus Pine, John Williman, Greg Jenkins, Cody Hunt, Trevor Blackwell, Pat Gaffney, Craig Marhefka, and Matt Huffman. And Mark Canacarante. He was number 10. Sorry about that. This concludes our racing report from the last 3 weeks. For our Feature of the Week segment, we'd like to cover an interesting, informative, or fun topic which should benefit all autocrossers. Starting from this episode, we will use the Feature of the Week segment to cover autocross cars that Danny has owned and raced in the past. We will start with the ones Danny raced in the beginning with little racing experience in autocrossing or car prep, to the period where he learned the sport and he began to compete, all the way to the cars he built for the class for the sole purpose to go to fast, and then today's cars just for fun. So let's go over the list first, and then we will go over the details. So this is going to take a few weeks, right? A few episodes.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm just gonna list the cars out, and then we can have our talk. Okay.
All right.
Are you ready, Danny?
I'm ready.
Seated?
Go ahead.
Okay. Here we go.
Jeez.
Here we go. 93 Mazda Miata, 06 Evo SE, 04 RX-8, 95 Dodge Neon ACR, 1981 Van Diemen Club Ford, 1985 Renard Formula Ford, 2003 Caterham 7, 2008 Swiss Hutless 125. We're going to talk about these in a little bit too. 2009 Swiss Hutless 125, 2008 Tony Kart Rotax, 1991 Civic Si, 2010 Road Rebel F125, 2011 Mazda Speed 3, 2002 Corvette C5 Z06, 2008 Solstice ZOK?
Z0K, yeah.
Z0K?
Yeah, that's a Pontiac.
I've never even seen those letters together before like that. 1997 Subaru Impreza, 2012 Corvette C6 GS, 1993 BMW 325 IS, 2013 Scion FRS, 2014 Focus ST, 2015 Subaru WRX. Yeah, I'm not done. I'm still reading these cars. 2003 Dodge Viper, 1996 Mazda Miata, 2006 Mazda Miata, 2016 Mazda Miata Club, 1999, 2000 Miata Oscar, 2017 Chevy Camaro 1SS, 2010 Mazda Miata PRHT, that's the hardtop, 2017 Focus RS, 2017 Civic Type R, 2008 Civic Si, 2003 Toyota MR2 Spider, 2016 Nissan GTR, 2019 Honda Civic Si, 2014 Mazda Miata PRHT, 2020 Porsche GT4, 2021 Toyota Supra, yes, 2019 Porsche 911 GTS, 2023 Mazda Miata, 2024 Toyota GR86.
That's not that many cars.
What the hell? I got to drive one of these cars at Nationals, which was sick. And then I own another one of these cars, and I know half of these other cars that I race against all the time at the autocross. This is great. What a list. What a list.
Well, I mean, it's not, I mean, like when I write it up, when I put it out there, it doesn't seem that long.
I was reading it for like 5 minutes, Danny. What are you talking about?
There are a bunch of cars I didn't race.
These are just the race ones, right?
Those just the race ones.
My God, I love
it's so
it.
dumb.
Okay, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about the list overall this episode and maybe a few of the earlier cars? What do you want to do?
I think the purpose of this feature will be going over some of the cars I have. So if you happen to have one of those, I can share, what I did with it, or what you could do with it, right? And then I would think that it's probably better if we start with just go down the list from the beginning, right? Yeah. Otherwise, or we can make it into like an Asian car versus American car.
No. Let's start at the beginning, Danny, and go till we get to karts for this episode, because I think that whole beginning part until you got into karts was a different like era.
Yeah, you know it is. It is. Yeah.
So let's start at the top. 1993 Mazda Miata. How did you get into autocross? Like, what is this?
So I had a Miata when a Miata first came out in 1991. So that really dated my age, right? So
89, right?
Well, the first model that was sold in the States was 1990.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. So in 1990, when Miata first came out, everybody wanted one. Even a non-car person. I would consider myself a non-car person at that time. But I wanted one, but it's twice the price, right? So when they first came out, I think it was like $12,999, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Right? $12,000. That was how much a car was. And then the dealers were asking for $24,000 for all of them. So it's a non-touchable. But after 1 year, the price has settled down to MSRP. So then by then you can buy one for MSRP if you're lucky. Yep. So what I did is I bought a 91 white Miata, with MSRP. And at that time, the first time I drove it, I thought it was the best car I ever driven. I mean, the shifter was so direct and so short. It was amazing. It was one of those most amazing things that you experienced for the first time, right? So, but then after, I had that car and I babied it, I washed it and all that stuff every day until I had a job change. I had to go down to downtown DC. And then at that time I was commuting or whatever. And that was the only car I have. So I certainly didn't want to do that. So that's why I ended up selling it. Right. And then fast forward to 2006. That time, I raced motorcycles until, around 2002 or so. Then I did a lot of bike riding, until 2005, 2006. And then during that time between 2002 and 2006, I actually fixed a lot of old used cars. So that was the period that I bought, I had a 67 Mustang fastback, I had 268 fastback. I had a 69 Mach 1, I I even had a 1949 Chevy truck, something like that. So I was fully involved with, fixing older cars. And then I told myself that, hey, why don't I transition to driving it? So I found this 93 Mazda Miata at, somewhere down in Woodbridge with a hardtop for $1,300.
Wow.
So that's when, a running car Miata with the hardtop, that's what the cost was. Also during that period between 2002 to 2005, I bought two Porsche. I bought a 911. I bought an 83 911 SC for $7,200.
That's crazy.
Running condition, perfect body. Had a little bit of oil leak, but every Porsche has an oil leak. And then in 2005, I bought a 1990 964, 911 964 C2, right? Mm-hmm. That was also a perfect body. Had a main seal leak, but you just kept on adding oil. It kept on leaking it out. And you kept on driving it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an automatic oil changer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that kind of it dates me a little bit, but it kind of tells you that why today there's no way I would have paid $100,000 to buy a 1990 C2 like some of those people, right? Yeah. I bought it for $10,000 and I didn't want it. So why would I pay $100,000 on something that potentially is not nearly as good as any Supra?
Well, that's because that you're using your racer mentality. You're
or any GR86 out there, right?
Right.
So yeah. So anyway. So I bought the 93 Mazda Miata for $1,300. Mm-hmm. I ended up spending $2,000 to buy the spec Miata kit that Mazda Motorsport sells, and put it in there. And then, so I was $4,500 into the car altogether, I think, by the time it was all said and done.
That's awesome.
I took it to my first HPDE, and they told me that I can't do it because my seats are not matching.
Oh,
you have to have matching seats.
Yep.
Right?
Matching safety, right?
Like so as I was driving home disappointed, leaving Summit Point, somebody says, "Hey, why don't you try an autocross?" Right? So I said, "Well, what is that?" They say, "Well, you drive, dodging cones at a parking lot." I said, "Nah." And dude, I'm a motorcycle racer, man. Come on.
Yeah, I like going fast, baby.
Yeah. So then I sat home, and then obviously there was no more. It was towards the end of the season, so there was no more race, no more HPDE. So I told myself, okay, well, I want to do something, right? Now, build a car. It's ready to go.
Yep.
So then I signed up for I end up signing up for the very last autocross, which is a Susquehanna event at Hershey.
Nice.
And then, and I think I told that story a couple of times. I went there, and then Sean Roberts beat me by 8 seconds, and after that, I was like, okay, man, I got a revenge.
What just happened?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what do you mean? Like, why am I second from last?
I'm pretty good at racing motorcycles. What just happened here?
Yeah. So I learned. So like a novice, everybody starts somewhere. Then you realize that, whatever you do with your car, whatever you think it's fast, or whatever thing that you think that you're doing is making the car better. Nah, it doesn't. It's completely irrelevant. Right. So the reason I want to spend a little bit more time talking about that is this directly applies to people who just started autocrossing or your first year, right? Sure. Yep. A lot of things that everybody thought that, oh man, this is the most important thing, right? It's not important, right? Important. Yep. But at the same time, the difference between 2006 till today, right, is the amount of information that you get is there's so much of it. And then a lot of the information that you're getting are actually accurate, right? It's not a myth or a hearsay. It's been proven, and all that stuff. So when I started in 2006, when somebody tells me that, oh man, you got to buy suspension A, or you have to run, like rim B or something like that, right? And then the reality is no, you don't need any of that, right? Or suspension C is actually better. You just don't know at the time. Right. So anyway, so that's the first one I had was a 93 Mazda Miata. I raced it for a few months and I actually sold it to a fellow autocrosser who lives up in Aberdeen near Ripken.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I don't know if he's still autocrossing. He's not coming to the events anymore. The first 5 years he still shows up, and he hasn't been around for about 12, 13 years, I guess, 14 years. So I kind of lost touch with them. And then, of course, I lost to Sean Roberts by 8 seconds, right? And
That's
then
how you know you're pretty good, because I was losing by 10 seconds when I first
yeah,
started.
I mean, I
8
know I
seconds
lost.
is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, there's that, Sean Roberts is no slouch, right? So so what happened was I did one more event with my friend actually before the year ends at Ripken, and then he took his not Corolla, he took his Camry out.
Mm,
So I was using my Miata beating up his Camry.
nice.
Of course,
Nice.
we don't know anything, right? And then the funniest part was he got hooked after that one Camry race. So he and I started plotting and say, well, in the beginning of next season, what should we get, right?
What are we doing? Yeah.
So I went on the autocross forum and I think I just posted a question and say, what's the best autocross car? And the first answer I got was a Evo.
Evo.
Yeah. So I go, okay, I'm going to get one.
Yes.
And then if I would have waited until the second guy to reply, and then he'll probably tell me, hey, a Miata is one. But I didn't get to the Miata. I took the first answer.
Nice. I love it.
So January 1st, I went to a dealer in Tyson's Corner and I bought this car.
That Evo is what I think kind of helped bring me back to autocross.
Yeah.
Because my first event I ever saw was that Evo, and it was like fully dialed in and you were flying around. And I was like, that looks cool.
No, I wasn't flying around. It was Mike Neri flying around.
Mike Neri was flying. One of you guys were flying. It was your car.
Yeah. So this kind of tells you that, back in the day, there are multiple ways to kind of get into the sport and get faster, right? Mm-hmm. And then, I know that, we recorded, how to get into more details about how to co-drive, and then that's either coming up, either this episode or the next episode. The best way to learn how to autocross is one of the methods is through co-driving with a faster person.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if that faster person is looking for a ride where he doesn't have a car. Right. Yeah. There are plenty of very, talented drivers that don't have the car of their own, or right now are not racing, have a race car. So
the number one that comes to my mind is Shane.
Shane, yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Shane has his own car. I mean, So, but Shane hops cars, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes if Shane decided to sell his Miata and then, he spends so much money on, his Subaru wagon, that everything's tied up in there. But once the engine's blown, and he's stuck, right?
Yeah.
So that's one person, right? The other person I know who's super fast, but he's busy golfing now, is Brian Hare.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I'm serious. There's a lot of fast people out there that, they come in autocross because they wanted to have it for fun, but they don't want to spend the money and have a dedicated autocross car. Those are the guys that if you're new, you got to go after and say, hey, come on and ride with me, right?
Hey, Danny, does Tom O'Gorman have a car?
Yeah, he has a GR86.
Oh, I didn't know that. I always see him racing other people's cars too.
No, he has a GR86. Before that, he has a Camaro that I sold to him. So
that silver one?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was my car.
Oh,
yeah, that's on this list.
Yeah. The 1SS or
Yeah. So I mean, all those cars, and so fast forward. I mean, let's go back to the Evo, right?
Okay. Yep.
So I didn't know anything about autocrossing, right? Because I had, I did my Miata that was 8 seconds slower. Mm-hmm. So I signed up for the first WDCR autocross school, the level 1, and then that's when I met Mike Neri. Mm-hmm. And Mike Neri was running his car. He was driving a M3 in STU, but at that time the Evo and STIs are in the STU now.
Yeah.
Before, M3 was the dominating car, but now when when the Evos and STIs started coming in, because the nature of the all-wheel drive, it's on any low grip surfaces. The all-wheel drive cars are going to win. Mm-hmm. It's going to be faster than M3. So he felt that he was disadvantaged. So he wants to look for a faster ride. And when I showed up in school, he became my instructor, and he was driving my car while he was trying to find out what's it all about.
Yeah.
Right. So as he testing my car and teaching me at the same time, he asked me, then we started talking about, this thing called co-driving, which I have no idea what that is. So I asked him what co-driving is. He says, well, in our relationship, I'll drive you a car, I'll teach you how to drive, but you're providing the car. So I'm like, right, I'm in, right? Yeah, because I want to get better at this. Yep. So believe it or not, for the next 6 months while I'm owning a car, every time when we race together, he will come back and say, you need to do this, XYZ to this car.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go out and do that XYZ to the car. And then once I did all the work, I bring it back. He will test it and he goes, man, I don't really like it. Can you do XYZ to that? Right? So I cannot tell you how many times that I took the suspension off that car and replaced something in that suspension.
Wow.
Yeah. So I replaced that. I tried at least 10 different spring rates.
That's amazing.
In that suspension.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that 6 months, I became very, very good at installing suspension. Right. Because the first time I paid somebody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I try to pay them the second time, I go, wait a minute, I have to pay hundreds of dollars for that. So from that point
let me just
on,
do it myself.
I just did everything myself.
Yep.
Yeah. So I did a lot of suspension stuff, learned how suspension work, play with sway bars, play with alignment, play with the type of tires. And so he's the one that transferred all those information. And he primarily is a driver. I mean, for car setup, he knows, but he really doesn't know. I mean, it's very interesting. Like today, you get everybody who's can come on and tell you, oh yeah, you got to do this and that.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know when these people say that they don't know how to do this and that. I actually know, but they certainly repeat somebody else's work pretty well. Yeah. But back in the day, 20 years ago, when you talk to someone, only a few people knows how to set up.
Right.
A lot of fast drivers, they just copy, right? They really actually don't know that much about what does that really do or whatever.
They're trying to copy like a Strano setup or something like that.
That's right. That's right. So really the person that knows is Strano.
That's what I'm saying.
Actually knows.
Yep.
And all this, I don't want to call Strano fanboys, but all the guys that are hanging out with Sam all the time, they're actually.
What do you call the people that don't hang out with Sam, but like stalk him from far away?
Yeah, that's right. So there are really a lot of people are like, hey, Sam, can you drive my car and tell me what I need?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's what so they basically just rely on Sam's expertise, right? Yeah. So what happened is Neri, when he ran out of ideas, he will say, well, let's give the car to Sam. So Sam would drive it. Sam will come back and say, well, you need this. And then I go in and put this in, right? Yeah. And then I think after you do enough of this, like mounting 1,000 tires, right? Yeah. Changing suspension 100 times, right? Or going through 80 alignments, then slowly you don't have to ask anybody else now how to do it, right? You know yourself, right? Yep. So Mitsubishi Evolution was a very important car in my autocross life because
tuning, suspension, learning how to drive.
Yeah, because that's
all the boxes.
Got me into autocrossing, like deep, like into it, right? I'm not saying that I understand it well enough at the time, but it really got me in it. I took it to the first nationals, right? I was 29th out of 34th on my second year of autocrossing. I went to nationals.
You beat some people. That's insane.
Yeah. And then I understood that if you launch in a certain way, what's side step, what's slip, and what's dragging your clutch. I mean, I did one pro solo. I blew out my whole clutch. Just one solo, one pro solo. Yeah. Because I don't know how to launch it. Yeah. I learned how to launch that car, right? I learned what tuning's about. I learned what all-wheel drive is. That was I put a big wing on the back, and that's my obsession of huge wings started from there.
Where are your end plates on that wing?
Oh, you have them. You picked it up, right? They're like this size.
They're huge.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the size of a monitor.
Danny, they weigh so much.
I told you.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I told you. I mean, maybe you can shave it off, like cut it in half.
No, I have to keep them as is.
They're humongous.
They're humongous.
I know. So but that tells you that it's the Mitsubishi Evolution was an important thing. So today, not too many people have those cars, right? Right. So if you have them, they're actually the same price of what you pay for them, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And that car, when I bought it, I think it was $35,000. I sold it for $20,000 after a few years.
And now you can buy them for $29,000.
They're $35,000, right? They're back at $35,000, and they're still fast, right? In DC, Sean Glazer. John Williman, Glazer, Aaron Shue,
and then every once in a while Martel comes.
everybody who still had those cars, ever since day one, that when I had them, they
Mhm.
still have them, and then they're still fast in it.
Glazer is so fast.
Yeah.
Every time I ride with him, I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening.
Right. So the dumb thing is if I would have just kept that car, I would have probably saved a few $100,000 in the rest of the list, right?
You'd be at the top.
I know. I mean, I think I'll be pretty fast if I still have that car.
If you still had that car, I think you'd be XA or SM, all the way at the top.
I mean, whatever the class it is, right? So anyway, but that's not possible. I know me. All right. So let's move down to RX-8.
RX-8,
right? So believe it or not, that RX-8, I bought that RX-8 for $4,900.
This is going to irritate all of our listeners when you talk about how cheap you bought all these
I know.
race cars for back in the day. Like,
no, but here's the dumbest thing. I bought that car in 2007, right? That was a 2004 RX-8 I bought for $4,900.
It's a couple of years old.
And it only has 4,000 miles.
Oh my God.
So I'll tell you the story on how that happened. So at that time, I used to race motorcycles, and I fixed a lot of crash motorcycles through my friend Dave, right? So my friend Dave calls me one day and says, "Hey man, dude, you're racing cars now. You want to race our RX-8?" And I go, "Hey, do you have one?" So he goes, "Yeah, I mean, there's a crash one. You can pick it up for $4,900."
Oh my God.
Right? I said, "What's wrong with it?" Right? He says, "Well, it's got a front left end accident, and I think the engine is blown. It's just something wrong with the engine, right?"
Okay.
So the body work, so the damage is, right side body work, right? Right side front suspension, maybe a steering rack, right? And a motor. So that's what I was told, right? So I kept on thinking that, okay, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. I go, okay, I'll go get it, right? Because at the time, I can't help myself. I'm buying stuff. So I got the car, tow it home, right? I start a car and it dies right away, but it will start. It'll start as soon as it starts. It goes and just dies. Right? Okay. So here's what happened. I bought the suspension arms and all that stuff and replaced the shock. I had to buy a steering rack because the power rack, this electronic power rack, right? So it's not, for some reason, that something internal was like messed up, so it's not really steering correctly. So I bought that. I picked up everything on eBay, like an old rim,
Nice, yeah.
and then all the stuff I picked up from eBay used. So I was probably in the car for like $800-900 at the point. And then, and the fender, and the front fender. So right now, the car's right now in good looking shape. It just doesn't run.
Yeah.
Right. So I was looking around that motor. I was trying to pull the motor up one day. So for just by chance, I was kind of trying to remove something, and then one of the tool drops, right, on the left side of the car. As I reached for it and grab it, like underneath the manifold, right, and I feel something rough in the manifold, and then I was like, "What is this?" And then I realized that the manifold was sliced open when the car hits the motor mount shift. It hits the side of the chassis, and then cut a big slat hole on the manifold. The manifold is about this wide and this thick, and it's right next to the front chassis frame, like cut. And since it's in the same spot, nobody can see it. Right? So I go, could it be this easy? I just replace a manifold and that's it.
Tell me it was that easy.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
I found a manifold on Craigslist for $225.
Oh man,
I put the manifold on, fires right up.
Boom.
That was it.
So good. So good.
So I sold it to my friend Frank. Right? Frank bought it for $5,500.
Wait, is that the RX-8 that Frank's been racing?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah. So Frank raced that thing the entire time.
I've seen him race that thing for years.
Yeah. That was my $4,900 RX-8.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah. So for some of you guys that who don't know, back in the day when it rains at Summit Point, I don't know what they're doing today on the Washington circuit, right? Back in the day, whenever it rains, the center of these skid pad, the little grassy circles, right? It's actually just turns into mud. There's no grass. So one time Frank lost control and slide into one of those circles, and he's literally stuck in mud. He couldn't get it out. So in the middle of BMW Autocross, we have 10 people putting the string and we're dragging him out.
Oh, that's funny.
Not using a truck. There was like 10 people doing tug of war and get him out of the car. I think I still have a picture of it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah. So RX-8, a beautiful car,
Yep.
right? John
Yep.
Venevas is using it to
So
you know, to win everything, right?
everything
Yeah.
in the world.
Lenny Wilcock,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Same.
same thing.
Yep.
Matt Hoffman, right?
Yep.
I mean, so it's a beautiful car.
What a car. What a
Yeah.
car.
I didn't want to tell him that I bought it for 4,000 miles, 3 years old for $4,900. I don't think they're gonna be too happy about that, but yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful chassis. Handles awesome, right?
Yep.
Motor's a little suspect, but anyway, I mean, all of them still running. So
There you
it's
go.
gotta,
Exactly.
so it's still got to be
Can't
good.
be that suspect if they're all still running.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, I mean, they used to, it was a popular race car and still is, right?
Yep.
All right. So quickly, we'll go to a 95 in Dodge Neon.
Yeah.
So I actually bought that from Tony Savini, the national champion in Philadelphia, and that's how I met Tony. Yeah, I saw Tony advertise that car, and then I went over there. Actually, he came over. He delivered a car.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I met him. I met Tony and his wife, at the time, and then we chit chatted, and then we became friends ever since.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I didn't have that car for that long. That car has an interesting thing. Like when I shift to first and I shift to second, and I make one turn, and pop out a second.
Nice.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing is I just took a bungee cord and bungee it to the back of the center console.
Good to go.
So it's always pulling down since I only need 2 gears anyway. When I go to first and I slam it, and I all I have to do is drop it, and it
rips itself back.
It's almost like an automatic.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So it dropped to second, and it would run, and the car runs fine. It was kind of fun, except that that's the first time I learned that front wheel drive cars you run bigger front tires and smaller rear tires.
Rears, yeah.
Because that's something that Tony Savini taught me how to do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like 18 years ago. Right. So, but I'll tell you the funniest thing. So this tells you that when you're a novice, you don't know anything, right, about it. So I was co-driving with my friend Steve, right? So Steve was the guy that he raced the Camry. He ended up buying the identical Evo as I did, right?
Nice.
So he and I decided we want to buy this car and then turn it into a race car at some point.
Yeah.
Right. So Steve and I were co-driving the car, and then I was doing all the work, right? By then I was changing hundreds of suspensions and then started mounting tires, right? So then, so Steve didn't do anything. He was like, he's like a mama's boy.
Nice.
But anyway, so I had to do all the committee duties, right? So when we got there, I say, Steve, can you change the tires? Steve goes, okay. So he puts the smaller tires in the front.
Oh,
and the bigger tires in the back.
Oh, no.
I go, no, Steve. The fat tires goes to the front.
And he's like, what?
Right. So he didn't understand that, right? So he was like, so he took the tires off. So what he did is he put two big fat tires on one side.
What?
And then the two smaller tires on the other side.
No.
So then I ran into, with two driving, right? So he jumps in the car and he was the first driver. So I finished my thing because I was working the gate. So I came over and then he jumped in the car and I was looking at it and going, this thing looks weird, right? So then I realized that he did that. So he took his run. He's coming back. He's like, the car's pulling one way. It's not going the other way.
Oh my God.
So then I had to change the tire to put it in the right thing. So he changed the tire 3 times.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, it's totally funny.
That's actually hilarious.
Right.
I love it.
So those are some of the things that you can learn, right? So the trick of using front wheel drive, bigger tires in the front and front wheel drive for cars and then smaller tires in the back, right? That's nothing new about. There's nothing new about this. I mean, people that are driving Neons or whatever, the front wheel drive, 20 some years ago, they're already doing that, right? It's nothing new, right? So when somebody's doing that now today, right? Don't think that that's some kind of innovation. Like I don't understand when people don't do it, right? It makes every sense. But anyway, so we had a Neon. So the Neon ACR eventually went to AJ. AJ turned it into a rallycross car. Then he sold it to someone else.
Nice.
So that's what happened to the ACR.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about 3 more cars before we get into cars and we'll cut this.
Okay. Sounds good.
So 81 Van Diemen and 85 Van Diemen, they're both one of those phases where like, I want to be a real race car driver, right? I want to be like Lewis Hamilton. Or actually for me, I want to be like Michael Schumacher, right? Or somebody like that, right? So yeah, exactly. So what kind of respectable racer drives a Neon?
You want it to be in something that
I want to be in a formula car,
like
right?
a race car. Yes,
I want to be in a formula car. I want to be like I want to be like a formula car.
Yeah,
I want Indianapolis 500, man. Right. So I looked around and then I find out that, oh my God, these old Formula cars, they're not that expensive. They're like $4,500. You can get one.
So you grabbed one.
Right. So I looked around and then somebody made a recommendation and say, why don't you buy, like a Club Ford, right?
Yep.
So Club Ford sometimes gets to a different, but when they talk about that, these are the people that actually knows about that kind of stuff. And they say, okay, here, you can jump on an older Formula car so that you can run in a vintage class or older class. And because these cars are slower, so you have a better chance to win. It's that type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So of course, at the time, I had no idea what the differences are. Plus, it's not really applied to the autocross world. Mm-hmm. So I bought this Van Diemen that's running, and then I have a truck, and at that time I have a Tundra. I have a Tundra. I have an older Tundra, not the newer Tundra. I have the old Tundra, and then I just put it on the trailer because I have motorcycle. I was trailer motorcycles, right? So I was towing the Van Diemen around and trying to go to races, and it doesn't matter where I go, and I'm always like the slowest.
Oh man,
like the really, really the slowest.
Damn.
Right. I went to Finger Lakes. That was the slowest. But it was cool. Like I was driving. Like
you look cool.
I'm a race car driver.
You felt cool. So
it was really slow.
Why'd you get two then? Why'd you get the second one?
Oh, because I found another one for $3,000.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go.
And then the other one comes with two different kinds of bodywork. So one of them looks kind of like they're both pointy bodywork. Like the Club Fords are like square and flat. It looks like a cockroach.
Huh? Oh my God.
Right? And this one looks more like a, like, I don't know, like a little torpedo or something.
Like a rocket ship.
Yeah, like a rocket ship. Yeah. So I bought that. And then guess what? So Frank actually bought the 85 Renard. So he had that for years too. And then that car went to Charlie Davis in California, years later. So yeah, so I actually raced those. The 81 Van Diemen turned out to be a pretty interesting story. I bought the Renard, so I didn't need another one. So I decided to sell the Van Diemen. Then someone from New York, upstate New York, contacted me and say, "Hey, I want this car."
Nice.
So I go, "Okay." And his name is Jeremy Treadway.
Okay.
So he shows up. I don't know who he is, but then but once I started looking him up, and he's a very accomplished racer.
Nice.
And lives in upstate New York. So he bought the car. He never really negotiated. I sold it for $5,500. He never really negotiated it. He just said, "Okay, I'll take it." Mm-hmm. Right. He came in and checked everything. He says, "Okay, I'll take it." So as he was leaving, he says, "I'm going to work on this car for the next 2 months. And then I'm going to take it to the Formula 4 70-year or something like that, or 50-year anniversary."
Nice.
And I'm going to race against Michael Andretti. I go,
"Oh,
what?
Wow.
Really?" Right? He says, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, I'll keep you posted." So true to his word, right? So every week he would send me, he would email me a picture of what he took, and then he turns in the car and just completes something. He's rebuilding the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
Right. And then he went there. So it just so happened that Michael Andretti did not show up for that race.
Oh, it sucks. But he was there at least.
But he won.
Oh, that's
so the last picture he sent me was him waving the checker flag in that car in the race.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that actually turned out to be a pretty cool story, with that car. Right.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is, yeah, I mean, if you want to be a race car driver, right? Formula car maybe look kind of awesome, right?
Yeah.
It's not it's nothing like how it is. But I do think that the kids today, or everybody who's getting in there today, right? Mm-hmm. For some reason that I haven't seen anyone that wants to do that with exception of like Joe Oxenham, that he'll try to get on the F mod, kind of a tiny little sewing machine, Formula carts, right? Nobody actually in this area or even into carts anymore.
Yeah.
So there's no danger, but if you really want to get into something like that, I would say Formula cars are not going to be that easy to go fast, especially with the packs and all that stuff. You got to be pretty good to do that. I was never able to really take advantage of those.
Okay. Yep.
So last thing, talk about Caterham 7, right? Is that a Caterham 7?
Yep.
Yeah. Caterham 7 was a fun car. I bought it from an old gentleman that he had the car. He built it, and then he only put 60 miles on the car or 90 miles in the car.
He loved the build,
yeah.
right? Like,
so I bought a car from him, and then I immediately took it to autocross. I had a great time in it. I mean, it used to run at Frederick, and we run at FedEx.
Question.
Yeah.
Is that the car that Edwin bought? Or
no,
was that
Edwin was after.
Okay,
So
not the same car.
my car was driven in autocrosses, and then sometimes Craig Garfield and Kevin Henry will be co-driving it.
Nice,
Right?
nice.
And then eventually I sold the car to Frank.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So Frank drove the car for some time, for a while. And he would do crazy things like spending $12,000 to buy a motor and still running a stock suspension, right?
Nice.
And then he ended up, before he moved back to Germany, he sold it to another racer in WDCR.
Oh, fun.
So now that car is on track.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I seen that car on track every once in a while when he shows up at HPDEs and stuff like
Nice.
that.
Fun.
I think Paul Cochise and his friend co-bought the car. And then there was supposed to be sometime autocross, sometime track use. But I've never seen it at autocross since. It was all track use. But by the way, those Caterham 7s is a pretty good base to build a D-Mod car.
Okay.
And then, but what happened is then once they start allowing aero into D-Mod, then you're butchering the beautiful car.
You're chopping it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like, why buy a real Caterham? You just buy a kit car and build it that way. So that's what a lot of people end up doing. So Norm Beaver, and then Scott Lentz, who since passed on. Those were the guys that used to run the Caterhams, right? So sometimes you have, in the DC you see 3 or 4 Caterhams racing against each other. Those are those back in the day. Those are happening, but I haven't seen any D-Mod car coming out here nowadays at any autocrosses. So it's sort of a kind of a lost art now. I don't think anybody else is running those anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. That's a lot.
That's good. So tell us, we just reviewed Danny's first few cars and how he kind of entered the autocross world and then became an autocrosser. Because I feel like there's a difference between going to an autocross once and being an autocrosser, living that life, right? So that was a fantastic intro.
Yeah.
Next, I'm very excited about. Next is going to be the Danny karting era.
Yeah. That was my first 3 years, basically.
That was your first 3 years. Perfect.
Yeah. So it's like you try to navigate in this autocross world that you don't know anything, and then like for someone who's have attention deficiency, like an ADD kind of a thing.
You're talking
right?
You're
so
talking
it's like, hey, let me try this, let me try that, let me try this, let me try that. So one of the things that I would say is during that time I like to win, right? I want to get better, but I never really focus on, hey man, I'm gonna be the best. I'm gonna be the fastest. All that stuff. I never had that mindset, right? I was just there to kind of experience all of the fun and meeting friends and be wacky, right? I didn't want to purposely be wacky, but it turned out that that my car buying habits made me wacky in most other people's eyes, right? But through that, I did learn. I hope that what people gather was the first 3 years, at least in my situation, I learned how to drive. I found somebody who mentored me, right? Who co-drove with me. And through that, I learned, then they gave me connections into someone like Strano that helped me to, that helped me to set up, different cars to basically understand more, of what's going on. Right. And then I tried a various of, sort of interesting kind of off the wall cars where nowadays I would never go to those because I knew how hard it was.
Because you also been there, done that.
Yeah. Like, so the experience was there. So I would say if you've never done it and if you feel like doing it and you have the energy to do that, it will be kind of fun to do. Right. Ultimately, autocrossing is still about driving. Yes. So yeah, but you can learn a lot of other stuff, along with it if you've gone down a different route. Right.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So get excited for the next one. The next one's going to be about the karts.
Oh my God.
And it's funny because a lot of our friends that autocross now in this region haven't even seen a kart.
No.
In full tilt. One of those. It's the craziest, wildest. Like
that was okay. So I'll give you a preview. That was the best autocross period in my life.
Wow. Okay. That's a good cliffhanger. I love it.
That's right. We'll talk about it next time.
Awesome. All right. That's it for this segment, and get excited for the next one.
All right. Catch you next one.
See ya. This concludes our podcast episode. Everybody is excused except for the novices. Our novice meeting begins now. All right. For today's novice meeting, we are going to be talking about a deeper look into co-driving. So I know we've talked about it on the surface before, but now we're about to take a little bit of a deep dive. By now, if you've been listening to these episodes and you're a novice, you might not be so much of a novice. You might have hit a few more events, right? You might have gained a little bit more experience, a little bit more confidence. So let's talk about co-driving below the surface. So, Danny, how do we get into co-driving? How is it beneficial? Compensation, prizes, sharing prizes, things like that.
The definition of co-driving is two people driving the same car, right?
Two guys, one car.
Yeah, two guys driving the same car.
Sorry.
So, and of course, I've seen four people driving the same car.
Oh, does that include ladies' classes?
Two guys and two ladies.
Nice, perfect.
Right. So now you get four people driving the same car,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
So when you think about it, I mean, I think the biggest thing that there are multiple reasons that you co-drive, right? But I can think of a few. Let's just list those. Number one, it's got to be for financial reasons, right? Because racing is not cheap. So
big money.
So you split the money for financial reasons. You co-drive. So hopefully that whatever you do when you co-drive, the expenses is half and half, right? Okay, so that's one. Then the second thing will be, so again, if you have four people co-driving the car, then you pay a quarter. I've seen people that running the same car in two different classes.
Oh,
and they co-drive too.
Yeah.
And then you have the two ladies, because there's six people driving.
That's awesome.
Right? So now you're paying 1/16 of, 1/6, which is 16.666%, right?
You need the percentage.
I know, I'm doing a percentage.
Oh my God, Here we go.
So these are ways of, for financial reasons, right?
Sure.
And the second reason is for, I guess it could be also financials for convenience. Let's say I'm co-driving with, right? Mm-hmm. And as a pickup truck and a trailer, right? So I put my car onto Ada's car, and then we're going there. So
we'll go together. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go together. So that's also some sort of, like a financial type of thing. So now all of a sudden we have a team of, stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of just showing up a car and people and they split. Now we got a rig of some sort with tools and all that stuff. So you're combining co-driving in that method, you're increasing your capability as a team.
Yes.
Right. So that's, I guess, in addition of what financial is, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next thing will be, something like you want to learn something from someone, right? Mm-hmm. If you're new, you want to grab an experienced person to co-drive so they can show you the ropes, right? So that's another combination of co-driving, which is how I started co-driving with folks.
Sure.
Right. So I drove with people that are much faster than me. I learned from them. So initially, when I drove with them, I basically cover as much as I can because I'm the one that's gaining the experience, from doing this. And then obviously the experienced driver are getting a little bit of financial help by mentoring you. And at the same time, they get to race a car that could be faster or whatever. Yeah. And the last thing that I can think of is sometimes co-driving actually give you an advantage at the race.
Of course, tire warmers.
So it depends on what kind of tires you have. Yep. It depends on the weather. It depends on temperatures, depending on, if your tire needs certain heat, if your car needs certain conditions to do better. Right. So sometimes with co-driving, you get to drive later than others. So in a situation when it rains, the second driver has a distinct advantage. Also, the second driver a lot of times will gain the tire advantage if the temperature is too cold. So the second driver gets a hotter tire, right? So, but in those kind of situations, it gets a little tricky because most of the time, if you drive with someone who's experienced, then obviously the experienced person would probably can utilize that advantage better.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, but I definitely have driven with people before that they don't really care. It says, okay, I'll go first. I don't care what you do.
Yep.
So the real fast guys don't care, right? So these are the different kind of situations of co-driving that I can think of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. So you talked about some of the benefits of having a co-driver just now about, maybe the tire being warmed, et cetera, financial benefits of having a co-driver. I'm going to throw it in there as well. It's more fun. So going to Nats with you was more fun than if I go by myself. I know it's not a direct improvement to the speed, but to me, it brings a big chunk of the joy of autocross.
I mean, if you can drive by yourself and, for 20 hours and, stare at a highway or a cornfield or looking at, I don't know, bean sprouts.
I mean, I can like
Right. Or you can BS the whole entire way and then
the whole way.
then find food and go, oh my God, let's go get some pan pizza.
So man, we got that Chicago. We took making a detour to go to Chicago to get pizza.
Illuminati's.
Who does
and
that?
then you get into a pizza coma.
Oh, we did get. It was very dangerous.
When you team together and co-drive, and then you can chit chat all the way to the events. You get to the event twice as fast.
Well, we didn't go there twice as fast.
No, I mean, my co-driver happens to be a very responsible person on the highway at 55 miles an hour, so it took 25 hours to get there.
We got on 70 and you're like, all right, you can hit the gas. And I was like, I am hitting the gas.
I know. I'm like, hey, look, I am a regular instructor. Go, get on the gas.
Go. I was like, this is about as fast as I can go, Danny. You're like, we got problems.
I'm like, this way you'd be DFL.
Well, we almost missed day one. It took us so long to get there.
That's another thing. So co-driving also requires people get along together. Right. So if you drive with someone that, like if your objectives and all that stuff are going to be different, then obviously sometimes gets into a little bit of a trouble. Okay. I definitely think that when you co-drive, if you want to learn from someone or whatever, that's one arrangement of co-driving. If both of you want to save money and you can do that, you can also do that. But I definitely think the best fun in co-driving is driving with a good friend.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the best way, regardless on if they're fast or slow or who's fast, who's slow or whatever. You want to drive with a good friend, you hang out and do it together. And then all of a sudden the race is completely different, right? Yeah, you're not just go there to race. You'll go there to hang out with your friends and do fun things together and all that. And then, as a older adult, I mean, those kind of opportunities are getting less and less, right? Sure. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that's good about co-driving. I love it. But I think we should talk about how do we make sure that we have a successful co-driving experience.
I was before we get into success, or maybe after success, let's talk about like the standard universally accepted compensation.
Yeah. I think that's part of the.
Is that part of the
success?
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
So you definitely don't want to get into a co-driving scenario where one person or both people said, I'm getting screwed out of this deal.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think if you start feeling that, look, I mean, I don't know if what I'm doing, I don't know if I like this co-driving thing, or I don't think that I'm getting what I want to get out of it in the co-drive. Right. Mm-hmm. Then I don't think you should co-drive. Right.
Yes.
I definitely see situations where like people want to save money and then they're not saving enough. One guy's paying a little bit more, one guy's paying a little less. Yeah. And then they're like in front of each other, you're not saying much. In the back, they're bickering about it. Right. Yeah.
And that's not the way. Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is for fun. I mean, why? Why bring yourself into that situation, right? There's no need for that. You get into a situation where your friends are beating you all the time, and now you get a little sour grape, right? That's also not, but the thing is, if that person is faster than you all the time, then, run some data, right?
Figure it out, right?
Exactly. Look at their data and go, oh man, it's faster here, faster there, faster. You have somebody else run the same car demonstrating to you how fast you can be.
Right.
Right. So
the variables are very
get
few.
The information, learn from it, and go faster yourself. Right. I mean, it's those seem so obvious now, but
it seems
when you're in that
now.
Situation, like your judgment's cloudy and probably don't see that. Right.
Of course.
Because what happens is when you drive with somebody that's fast, even though you're not too happy about it, you know what? Every run when they come back, they show you how fast they went.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You just need to extract out of that. And then, you can carry it on within a conversation, or you can just run data and then you just look at the data
and not even have to talk to them.
That's right. That's right. So as far as adequately compensating each other, what's the standard, right? Yeah. I think we talk about this in previous episodes or whatever, but I do think that, it's fairly straightforward, right? I mean, sometimes some people, for them to gain those experience, they don't mind paying.
Yes, correct.
I mean, especially when you drive with somebody like really, really high caliber, of a driver where, say, for example, if I drive with Strano or Brian Highcotter or, I drove with Tom O'Gorman one time.
Amazing.
I'm not going to ask them for anything.
No, right.
I won't ask these guys for anything. I'm just going to say, well, thank you for driving with me.
Thank you for staying with me.
Yeah, because they are driving your car. They show you how fast you can be. And then even though you can't repeat what they're doing because they're so good, at least you witness greatness, right?
I think Tom O'Gorman's my new favorite driver, Danny, by the way.
Oh my God.
I'm not even kidding.
It's so funny. I mean, his car broke, over at Solo Time Trials. I mean, I'm sorry, SCCA Time Trials. So he comes over and goes, "Hey, can I drive your car in this class?" I go, "Yeah, of course." Right. So he jumps in and then he drives and says, "Oh, well, you probably need to do some improvement, add this thing here and there," and walked away. And then I go, "Oh, yeah. Now let me see what I can do." I was 4 seconds slower.
Oh my God.
on a 50-second course.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
I know. It's like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. I mean,
4 seconds.
That's just Danny. The way it is.
Danny,
4 seconds. 4.
That's
it's
a
insane.
lot of seconds.
That's a lot of seconds. Yes.
Were you just starting out?
No.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man.
So anyway, that just, that's what greatness is.
That there you go. There you go.
Right. Or I run with Brian Highcotter over at Barber.
Yeah. Oh
right?
My goodness.
And then I did not run at the same time. I ran, I ran my Porsche. I ran a 140 or something.
Yeah.
Right. He was in my stock. He was my stock super. I went 137 or 136.
Oh, baby.
He was faster than McLaren,
Just
don't mind me. Say, right.
Oh my goodness.
So
I do have one more.
If you're driving with somebody who's really fast and they're actually demonstrating how good they are, right? There's no need to ask for for compensation. Sure. That's just silly. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's also, I was thinking about asking for the co-drive. I also think that there's a little bit of a, I want to say seniority to being the one asked versus the one asking to co-drive, right? Mm-hmm. I almost feel like as a true novice, asking someone else to drive their faster car might not be the way to approach the situation. Like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
The other person will say no, right?
But you don't want to break their heart. You don't want to have your feelings hurt.
You are putting another person on the spot, right? When you ask for something like, "Hey, can I drive your car?"
Right.
Or I actually have some experience where this was probably 7-8 years ago that I had someone that out of the blue calls me up. I don't know if I talk about this and say, "I am so-and-so, and I heard that your car is fast and I want to drive it." Right. See, and I say, "Well, I said, Mr. So-and-so, I have no idea who you are." The answer is no.
Right.
Right. He goes, "Do you know who I am?" I go, "I don't care."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I said, "You're not Tom O'Gorman."
I love it.
But you see, I mean, there's definitely a ways to ask, and
there's like an etiquette, right?
Yeah. So like a typical thing is if you really want to learn from someone that you think that co-driving is going to help you a lot, there's definitely nothing wrong by approaching anyone who you think that you like to co-drive with, mm-hmm. and then basically say, "Hey, I want to learn from you. Can you drive my car?" That's the key, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Ask them to drive your car.
Now yes, that's what I was.
You don't go in and say, "Hey, dude, I'm driving your car.
You look so fast out there. Let me drive that thing."
Yeah. But once you know the person well enough, right?
Yeah.
Like this year I drove 2 people's cars. I only drove 2 people's cars this year, right? Actually, I only drove 2 people's cars in the past couple of years, right?
Really?
Yeah. I drove with L.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
I drove with the L.
Yeah.
And I drove with Alan and Kate.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Right. So I drove with the L because we go grab food all the time. Right. Yeah. And then at a track crosses, he did ask me and say, "Okay, here, nice. Can you drive my car on track?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I'm comfortable driving people's car on track, but I will try it." Right.
Okay.
So then the second time around I didn't have my car, but I figured that I can ride with L, and then basically we can I can show him a few things that I learned from driving his car.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's something I'm demonstrating on, like data or whatever. Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And driving with Alan, I was just curious because I never prep my car up to a point, I finally give the car to Alan after I prep all that stuff. I haven't even driven yet.
Yeah. So I don't even know if that counts actually as you co-driving.
Right. Yeah.
Was the ink wet?
No, I mean, I just say, "Hey, can I drive in?" And the KO always say you can drive my car anytime. Right. So that it still doesn't matter. Right. But I would say, definitely, if you're new, you want to offer your car to someone because that person can give you setup advices and all that stuff.
Yes.
But if you feel uncomfortable, I would think it's pretty ballsy to find someone to say, hey man, I want to drive your car. That usually puts, into different situations, right? I mean, I can tell you that when I was younger, if people asked me, I would feel really uncomfortable, right? Because I don't want to be the bad person and say no, but I don't really want to let you drive my car either.
Sure.
Nowadays, I just say, no, sorry, dude, get away. Right? Because that should be the answer, right? I mean,
there's also one kind of person that isn't okay with anyone driving their car. And I get that. I'm not that kind of person, but I respect other people's wishes, right? So like, if you don't want to have someone co-drive your car, it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
It's just a nice way to get faster for me. So
Sure.
I look at it as a tool.
Yeah. I mean,
so
I've seen people coming over and I mean, like get in my car brand new first time. I say, hey, you can punch it. And then it fries my clutch. Right. I mean,
yeah, right.
I mean, dude, right.
Yeah.
Or, hit cone like 16 cones and say, I'm faster than you. I've seen those too. It's like,
if I didn't hit those 4 cones,
I say, okay, come on, go drive. And then it hits 16 cones and go, hey, dude, my raw time is faster.
So fast. 7 seconds fast.
Yeah, I know. Quickest way to lose my access to my car anymore. Right?
It says DNF. How do you even know your time?
Yeah, I mean,
counting,
come on, man.
Right? Like,
yeah,
exactly.
but that's kind of the way it is, right?
Yep.
So I would say the proper way to do it is you offer somebody to drive your car, right? And so you can learn. And then if you get a chance to drive somebody else's car, for me, it doesn't matter if I'm faster or slower. If I was driving somebody else's car, I always try to offer compensation, right? Mm-hmm. If I don't offer compensation, there will be a compensation later for them to drive my car.
Sure.
Right. So you can switch it up and say, this time we drive yours and next time you drive mine. Right. But if you have no intention to kind of ever let other people drive your car again, right? Then the compensation, I think, needs to be fair.
Yep.
So back in the day, even 10, 15 years ago, when I started driving, I mean, I remember Kenny Sorensen. Yeah, Kenny passed on a long time ago. Kenny was a nice guy. So whenever Kenny is doing the co-drives and stuff like that, I mean, somebody usually paid him or he pays other people like $80. Right. So, and remember, those are the Hoosier days, right? I mean, you drive somebody else's car, it's literally $10, $15 a run.
Yeah.
That you're of the tires that you're burning, especially when you're on A6s, right? You get 24 primo runs.
And that's it.
After that, it starts falling off, right? So if the person's giving you 4 runs in that primo 24 runs, right? You talk about $1,000 a set of tires, and then you get 24 runs. Each run is around $50, right? $40, right? So, yeah. So, but for locals, I think nowadays, I mean, street tires, obviously, it's a little bit better. But I would say, like, I would volunteer to pay that person's entry fee, right? And then I pay for lunch.
And then dinner. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I pay for lunch or dinner. Yeah. So that often equals somewhere between $80 to $100. Anyway, right? When you start looking at it.
Yep.
And then another thing that you can think about is you're driving somebody else's car, a well-prepped car for $100, right?
Yeah.
You can't find a deal like that. I mean, how do you find a deal like that?
Not even close.
Right.
Yep.
So usually, I mean, let's even take things for example. Right now, our friend Key has it's something like it's like a Turo for race cars, right?
It is. It's called Curbs.
Yeah. So Curbs, right?
Yep.
So Curbs is about $1,800. Somewhere, I don't know exactly what the price is. I guess
it depends on the cars. It depends.
Yeah. I would say, like they'll rent their race cars for $1,500 to $2,500, right? Like for a day or two, right?
Right.
Yeah, is it a day or two? Do you know?
It's a per day.
Okay, so let's just use $1,500.
$1,500, yeah.
Right. So when you drive $1,500 per day in a typical HPD session, you get 4 sessions, right? So that means that's roughly $375 per session. That's every 20 minutes.
Yep.
Right. So in that case, it's actually kind of cheap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get $375 divided by 20. Right, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and then so each minute is what, $17?
Yep, $20. Yeah,
right, $17. Right, and then that actually makes sense, right? So if you go on a 4 run, at Waldorf,
20, 40, 60, 80, boom,
that's $85.
If you get 5 runs, like we've been getting more than 4 lately, it's $100.
Yeah, right, it's about right. That's the going rate anyway.
Yep.
right? That's really the going rate when you think about it.
That's
so if obviously autocrossing is a lot shorter in time frame, but if you just use the time calculation and stuff like that, the price is actually the same. Right. So I think that would be pretty fair, especially if the other person is willing to do that. And of course, when they do it that way, they're not going to make money off,
right.
You pay somebody $85 to $100 per day. That person is not making money.
They're losing money.
Trust me. They spend a day that, they offer their car to you. You put wear and tears on the car. There's no way that you can put wear and tears on a car to do that. It's never going to be enough. Yeah. So yeah, just make sure that, so when you cover the compensation, and that's the most important thing. Back in the day, we actually have, especially when you go to national events, when you win, you can split the winnings. So from my perspective, the winning always goes to the car.
Yeah.
Right. So if the faster driver wins 2 tires, those 2 tires goes to the car. They don't go to the driver.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people that they say, well, okay, if we win 2 tires, I get to have a tire. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that before.
Yep.
Right.
It all depends on
I
what
don't
you guys
know.
decide.
I mean,
so
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'll reserve my comment, but
figure it out before you run.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, anytime when you talk about money and all that stuff, I've also seen people that offer contracts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They have a contract that's written up before they co-drive.
Yep. Makes sense.
The lawyer types would do that.
Yep.
We have a lawyer that we run, and he does that.
That's awesome.
Right. But that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong by putting things up front.
Yep.
Yeah. But just make sure that when you co-drive, you're always better off co-driving with a good friend of yours.
Yeah.
Right. And then you won't have any issues really. Right. Like sometimes in the school, and then instructors will come up and ask for a run. Right. Sometimes, like if I'm driving something that I really don't want other people to drive. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes won't even bring the car.
Right.
Right. But for instructors, we usually know each other for quite some time, right? If they come back and say, "Hey, can I get a run?" You just toss the keys. That's a unwritten rule to say, "Okay, here, I'm here with my things, and we know each other for 15, 20 years, and have at it." Right?
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, hope that helps.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. Hope that helps. And then I don't know, is there anything else that you can think of that I didn't?
No, I think that we touched on the things I want to talk about for co-driving. So that was good. Good.
Awesome. And then we'll just wrap up our 20th episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. And thank you for spending the last hour with us. And again, we hope you enjoyed the information and hope you find this informative.
Yeah. And don't forget to join us for the next episode. And until then, keep those tires on the track and that wing in the back. It's so corny. Like it's so corny.
That's fine.
I love it. All right, we're back to my favorite segment and the segment that teaches me the most next to novice meeting, give or take. It's Ask Uncle Danny. Welcome, Danny.
I don't know if I can answer this, but I'll try.
This one is a good one. This one's a good one because I almost came into a fight with Choi about this years ago.
Ooh.
Andrew Choi. Because he is obsessed with these things, and I'm so old. I didn't even know these things were actually
so old. I'm twice your age.
Sim rigs.
Okay, sim rigs.
Talk to me about sim rigs, and can sim rigs actually help me autocross?
Yes. The answer is yes, of course.
That's it. It's a simple yes. So I lose. Troy
Yes.
was right.
Yeah.
Troy was right.
And this episode.
End of episode. All right, Danny. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
Okay, well, I'll go over some of the stuff I've been doing on sim racing.
Yeah.
If you watch guys like Tom O'Gorman or Alan Sandrini or Andrew Pallotta, those guys, right? Or even several, local autocrossers, they do a lot of sim racing, and then it's really helping them. Most of the guys that are fast in sim race, they're fast in the real world, right? Ken Halcyon, like the list goes on, right? Mark Labance, everybody. So anyway, I started sim racing, like 10 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was more out of curiosity than anything else. I mean, plus I was totally born in the winter. And then, so I did not start with, like the cool stuff like iRacing today. I had an Xbox. Mm-hmm. So I just bought a program, slide it in there, and bought myself a G25, Logitech, wheeled and pedal combo. And then I proceed to crash every time when I make a turn for the next 3 months.
Good.
Right. And then one day it all of a sudden it clicked, right? Two things that happened that made me click on how to actually drive in the sim race, right? One is knowing where I'm going, right? Yep. When I don't know the track, I see just what's coming, then I just jam it, right? Then the second thing is sim racing. I drive sim race like pole position.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Pole positions before you guys were born.
First racing game.
I drove so pole position,
so
back
good.
In high school. Was that high school? Maybe. No, I think Pac-Man was in high school. So pole position was probably, I don't know, when I got married, right? 85, 86 or so.
Oh my goodness.
So basically in pole position, when they go, you just hammer the throttle and just keep steering, right? And then, and you don't have to ever lift and don't ever brake. It's okay.
Good.
Yeah. So that's pole position. So I drive pole position. I drive the new sim rigs just like the pole position. And of course, the new ones are completely different, right? So two things. One is you know where you're going, right? Two is learn how to apply your throttle.
Okay.
Right. So these two things really come in handy. So what I did was after 3 months of crashing, and this was, I crashed from November all the way to January, right?
Sure.
So February was still cold. Then all of a sudden one day, I was driving and go, oh, I get it. I mean, why don't I do everything early and anticipate what's coming up, right? Yeah. And then maybe I can do this thing. Then all of a sudden, everything became so much easier, right?
Okay.
So basically, it's a mindset change of just react to whatever I see versus planning to drive whatever the course I have, so I don't have to react what I see.
In autocrossing though, don't you already plan before 100%. You see it? So 100%. It applies directly. The mindset applies directly to
it. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So what everybody says, look ahead, right? That's why I don't like look ahead.
Think ahead.
Because in sim racing, I try to look ahead, right? But I crash into everything.
It hasn't loaded up yet.
That's right. By the time you found it, it's too late.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that's fair.
So you should never think about looking ahead. You should think about in terms of sim racing. You know the next corner coming up. You also know what the next corner looks like. Also the next corner and the next corner and next corner, next corner. So in your mind, if you already know that all the corners on the course and know that at this corner, I need to be in this position so I can get to the position on the next corner in order to accelerate and all that stuff. So what sim racing helped me with is actually have an entire plan of how to drive that track right from the get-go, right? Mm-hmm. And then the amazing thing is the sim races today, it's not pole position, right?
Yeah.
It's real now.
Nice.
Right? So whatever you apply is however the throttle you get, even though you don't feel it on your butt, right? You will get that. But then what happens is it's sometimes so realistic that when you turn and when you get on throttle, when you turn, you will see the screen changes and your car movement and all that stuff. It's incredibly similar to the real car movement.
Wow.
It just doesn't have the feel. Mm-hmm. So that's when you get the the motion rig or whatever. I've never driven on a motion rig, so I don't know how that will work. But after you do that for a few months, you can actually feel, even though the feeling is not there, the vibration movement is not there. Mm. Then later on, you can get those direct drive steering wheels, which is the one I have now. And whatever the shaking, the vibration, all that stuff is actually very, very similar to a real car.
Okay.
Right. So that's kind of how you learn. So for me, I think the biggest benefit of sim racing is to think ahead, plan ahead, think ahead, right? Yeah. Then your eyes validate what you're thinking, right? And your foot and your hands will just follow.
So you just mentioned direct drive. You mentioned motion rig. This sounds like super expensive. Does it have to be that expensive to start?
No, I don't think so. Because when I first started, because the key thing that I was trying to mention is one is, throttle modulation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can use any, sim race. I mean, unless you use like a joystick or
you need a wheel. You need a wheel and some pedals.
Yeah,
right.
You need a wheel and pedals. I mean, I've seen people that just use keyboards and kicking everybody's butts. So I don't know if you. I mean, I guess visually you can learn, or mentally you can learn the idea of how to drive a course, but you do need to practice your foot, right? How much throttle applications that you put in, when to come off, when not to hit the brakes. So for example, like sim racing also taught me that if I want to make a direction change, I don't have to hit the brakes, right? I know a lot of beginner autocrossers, what happens is whenever they go through a transition to a turn, they automatically put their foot on the brake, put their foot on the brake, put their foot on the brake. They will tap the brake, return back, tap the brake, return back, right? Where you can just do a slight tiny lift or not even lifting and then just set up early and turn, right? Those are the things that you can actually practice and do in sim racing, 100%. And then the other thing that people do is I see people that insist on doing left foot braking, right? Left foot braking is actually very, very delicate, difficult thing to do. If you think that you can do left foot braking, you're probably not doing it right, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure that you actually only use your left foot when you have to use your left foot. You don't want to be like what I used to do left foot braking. I would do throttle, and every time I get a little nervous, I would do this, right?
Yeah,
that is not effective left foot braking, right? So, but all those things you can practice in sim, right? But then again, the two things I recommend that I stress that when you try is you plan ahead in order to drive the course well, and you throttle modulate, and then you can practice a lot on that. And of course, those are the two major things for sim racing. And again, I'm not going to come across and then let you know that I'm an advanced sim racer. I do as much sim racing to learn two things. One is if I want to go to a track that I've never been on before, right? I drive it. I try to understand, where to put my cars and how things work. And then, and believe it or not, whatever my sim race time that I run, it's very similar to what my car actual time is.
That's awesome.
Unless I pick an F1 car running a course, I already know. That's a little bit different, right? So it's one great way to learn where the courses are. And then at the same time, you practice that. But another thing that I would not recommend is if your eyes start getting tired, you start getting loopy, and you're seeing like 10 cars in front of you, maybe it's time to stop. Because your eyes do get tired.
Yes, of course.
When you do a lot of this. Yeah.
Okay, so you just said the word recommend. Can I put you on the spot? For someone that's maybe getting into sim racing, is there a wheel that you would recommend, or a sim, like an application or game or whatever that you recommend?
I think the best entry level ones to get into is probably a Logitech G29 now. I don't know if there's one after that.
Okay.
Right?
Logitech, pretty much.
Yeah. So Logitech, I started with the 25, then I think I bought a 27. I never used the 29. And then, a good friend of mine, David Kramer, who's a super, super fast guy.
Oh yeah.
And he's like super seriously into sim racing. So a lot of times, like midnight at night at 1:00, he sees me online. He goes, "Hey man, look what I did on this."
That's
so
awesome.
I say, "Well, hey Kramer, tell me what rigs to buy or what wheel to buy." So he recommended a Thrustmaster.
Okay.
So the one after I got rid of my Logitech, I went to a Thrustmaster. Okay. That's the one that has the steering wheel and the pedal setup.
Okay.
Then I want to get a little bit more serious and then just a little bit high end. So I bought a Fanatec, direct drive.
Okay.
And then I have the Fanatec pedals and a Fanatec shifter. So that's what I have as far as steering wheel and all that stuff is concerned. So the rigs I have, obviously, I started with my dining room table.
Yep.
I started with my dining table, a computer under my dining room table. I set a monitor up, and then I just took my G25 and then I screwed it onto the edge of the table.
Yeah.
And I drove it that way, right? And of course, then the foot pedal sits on a carpet underneath the dining room table. And of course, they slide around. So I'm driving, I'm just going.
That's great.
Then I bought a basic rig. Right now, since I'm retired, I splurge as my retirement gift. I bought a next level racing rig. So it's not cheap, but it's not that expensive. I just bought the chassis. I didn't buy anything else. I tried to buy something that
put motion on that one that you bought.
Yeah. Okay, that's the one that you can add motion. You can add motion on the seat.
Nice.
Right. And you can add a motion on the entire platform. So the whole entire thing moves.
Nice.
Right. So basically, if you can move your seat like this, front, back, right. And then the whole entire motion also moves like a car.
That's awesome.
I think, if the program was done right, you can get quite a bit of feel.
Okay. Great.
That thing. But then again, and the C motion is $3,000. The platform motion is like $6,000.
Baby steps.
Yeah, that's like a car, right?
Yeah.
But the chassis, I think you can get it as low as $700.
Okay, pretty good.
Yeah, so $700-800. So I just bought I bought a chassis for $1,000.
Now the question is, what sim application are you playing or are you on?
So I am only on iRacing now.
Okay.
And then I'm running off a PC. So I use iRacing and I run Assetto Corsa for the courses that
aren't on iRacing.
That's not on iRacing.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right. So if I want to go to a place I've never been before, I go to Assetto Corsa. And of course, you go to Assetto Corsa. Sometimes it's not completely the same.
Mhm.
Sometimes you look at the background and there's supposed to be all the trees there. It was just kind of sky. It was like empty. But hey,
That's okay.
the track is fine.
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, the track is fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what I use. I did play with Xbox for a while, and I thought those games were kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then I did, what do you call it? Gran Turismo, off PlayStation.
So much fun.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
I don't know how sim or realistic it is compared to iRacing, but I know that
good. I think they're all pretty good.
it's just fun.
Yeah. So I would say, whatever you have, right?
Yeah.
Especially start out with autocrossing, do a little bit of sim. If you already have the rig and have the game, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
And then get used to it and have a good time whenever you have time. That doesn't guarantee you that you're going to be a good racer.
No.
Right. Because I've seen people that talk about, I ran time XXX on, at this national course, and then this is the time I ran.
Oh, in a
right.
That's a different topic.
And so I go, wait a minute, that's like 10 seconds faster than A-mod, man. That's not possible.
Right. You're flying.
yeah. You're just skipping over cones and going in the right directions.
That's so great.
So, but then again, like most of the good sim racers they're pretty good in real life.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not the same, but but you can definitely learn from it. That would be my take.
Thank you. Great take. Right. And I think that's one of the most informative Ask Uncle Danny's that wasn't related to food we've had in a very long time. So
that's not good. That's
awesome,
if it's not food, I'm not happy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I just want to say thank you again. That was a great Ask Uncle. And all right. I think that's it for this one, right?
See you at the next one.
All right. See ya.
Okay, bye.